Good morning. Great to see all those yellow shirts out here today. Thank you all for being here. So my name is John Ram. I'm the director of the planning department. It's my great honor to be presenting this today and presenting Liz. For those of you who may not know who Liz is a living innovation zone, of which this is the second of several that will be installed in the city. We're very grateful to the support of all the city administration and many, many departments who have had a part in making this happen. Before I make some comments, though, let me introduce the mayor. The mayor has been a huge supporter of this, has asked us to really be experimental in how we look at our public spaces in the city to make sure they're engaging to everyone and to play with ideas of how to engage people in our spaces, make them lively, make them safe. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Mayor Ed Lee.
Thank you, John Ram, our Director of Planning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Liz, our Living Innovation Zone. Before I say anything, let me again express our city's condolences and really the horrific event that happened in Orlando reminds us that we really need to continue working on our diversity and the people in Orlando. The LGBTQ community there is suffering tremendously, and I know we feel a lot here in San Francisco because we have a very strong LGBT community here in our city. And I want to just, again, express our city's sorrow for what happened and also the need to really do something about it in terms of preventing these kinds of weapons from getting in wrong people's hands. But the most important thing is to celebrate our diversity as we do every day here in our great city. And I know that we're on the verge of celebrating our Pride. In fact, this is Pride Month, everybody. Yeah, and this is what we need to do. We want to do it, but we need to do it also for the people of Orlando, also the people across this country, whether they're in North Carolina or Mississippi or Orlando or here in San Francisco. We work and we represent everyone in our community. We want to make sure they live full lives as we want to do here in our city, and also be safe at the same time. And speaking about safety, that's part of the event today, is activating our United Nations Plaza, but doing it in a way that celebrates a lot of things that have gone on in our Tenderloin Central Market area for a number of years. You know, we have sought to revitalize our mid-market, and you see it reflected in the Strand Theater. That's that orange building right across the street. But just this year, we opened up the Tenderloin Museum. Randy, thank you for being here today. We just are finishing touches and opened up the 826 Valencia. We got downtown streets here that are with us. That's a great revitalization organization there, helping us keep everything clean and also doing the extra work that keeps everybody safe. That's part of the entire revitalization. Everybody's working now in a lot of partnerships, whether it's a community benefits district and reflective of the corporations that have moved into the mid-market and having them participate to the tune of millions of dollars in both contributions and in volunteer work and support through the community benefits agreements, the merchants associations along Market Street, the investments of over 5,500 new housing units in and along this corridor area. It's going to be another great blessing. You see a lot of that construction. In fact, when I was walking down here, I thought those echo tubes were another sign of construction, but they actually will talk to you. All of this in collaboration with our Economic Workforce and Development Office, our stewards that we're doing today, our Fix-It teams, our Sandra Zuniga, the Fix-It teams at DPW are here. Plazas, when you say plazas, you mean parks, you mean Rec and Park, they're here. And they just got a big victory on Tuesday. with the dedicated funding for our parks. In fact, we're putting $10 million into the children's playground right up the block. That's going to be an exciting investment. All of this means many, many more groups, the government agencies, the nonprofits, the community organizations, the people who are serving food and providing services. We're all working together to make sure that we are collaborating, but also bringing everybody and lifting everybody else up. Not to isolate people, not to kind of have them on their own, but to actually invite them in to all of the services that we have, and certainly reducing people who need to find a reason to live on the streets. That's what we're all trying to do here as well. And activating our open spaces and plazas for everybody's use. That's the most important theme that we have coming today. And I know our planning department and working with all of the different agencies really are concerned about the use of our public realms, in that they are not isolated places for people to just stick around or hang around in. They should be activated. They should be belonging to everyone. And people should not feel unsafe in all of these public places. Everybody should be welcome as long as they are acting in accordance with inviting everybody else to be participating. And we're also working, not only our police department is working with us, but they're working with the BART patrols. They're working with our ambassador programs. We'll also be working with our stewards, who are assigned to make sure our installations in this entire plaza are kept clean and useful for everyone. How many people have tried the swing yet? Anybody tried the swing? All right, you got to get young. You got to do it. You got to innovate. Well, this innovation zone is part of a collaboration that we have in the public-private sector with others who are innovating along the entire stretch of Market Street. Our art department, our art commission is out there inviting people to say, if you've got an idea, whether it's playing the piano or having an echo tube or having other sounds that people might engage themselves in, kids and children and families, or having a museum to walk to and having people guide everybody to where they want to go and see this exciting area of our Civic Center Commons, our United Nations Plaza. This is a place for everyone. This is why we put in over $200 million in our whole street Civic Center arena to make sure that we keep our streets not only clean and safe, but also inviting and usable by everyone. This is a city that is for everyone, and we want to make sure all of our open spaces are used and welcomed by everyone as well. And we'll continue doing our best to work in partnerships with everyone, whether you're representing people who are living in the lowest income SROs in Tenderloin, or in the modern housing that's being built, or in the low income and middle income housing that we're also striving to increase on, or even in artist spaces that we're trying to create more space for, and making sure that we have that as part of our development agreements, but also our rehab and preservation agreements. All of this, United Nations Plaza is an exciting area for the city. I want to say thank you to all of the partners that are with us, that continue to work with us. And I see our CBD and our Market Street activists that are here as well. And the food trucks are here too, so you don't go hungry when you're all playing and working at the same time. This is our space of interaction. This is the center and the heart of the city. I want to make sure it continues to be safe. We're cleaning around the whole area, whether it's Fulton Street, right up to City Hall, or whether it's all the sides of Larkin and Grove, or on Hyde Street. All of that area needs to have not only great touch-up, but more eyes, people looking out for each other, making sure everybody is safe, especially the kids and children. Because I want more people to get into the Tenderloin Museum. I want all of our kids to get into 826 Valencia and make sure they're having a great time. The Technology Center at our main library for all of our youth. I just bumped into our librarian. He's on his way to another meeting because he's so excited about things that are happening here. Our new Asia Art Museum has more hours than ever before. They're making more money. Guess why? More people are coming. They're coming to all of these events, and we're just going to do more of these kinds of zones to activate and invite more people here. So thank you all for joining us. It's another, I think, reflection of how all of our agencies want to work together to create just an atmosphere of not just safety and public realms that work for us, but just ideas of how to innovate with each other. So when we're sitting down and having lunch here, we can talk about the next innovation idea that we have to keep this city growing, because it's ultimately going to be about ideas and how we share them with each other and how we use our diversity to keep our strength of our city. And by the end of the month, we're going to have a great Pride Parade and a great Pride celebration, aren't we? All right. Well, thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate those comments. It's my great pleasure now to introduce Supervisor Jane Kim, whose district we are in. Supervisor Kim has also been a great supporter of activating our public spaces, and we appreciate her being here today. Supervisor Kim.
Thank you, John Ram. It was about exactly a year ago that the mayor and I were at the ribbon cutting for the Strand Theater across the street, which really symbolized the reinvestment of so many different entities into this neighborhood. Here in UN Plaza, we're at the juncture of many of our neighborhoods, the Tenderloin, Mid-Market, South of Market, Hayes Valley, and actually, interestingly, even for the city, a site of multiple jurisdictions. I see the Department of Real Estate, Rec and Park, and Public Works that are all here today, that all have ownership over the site that we are here today. Open space is incredibly important for our neighborhoods here. I talk about this often, but the district I represent has the fewest parks and the smallest parks of any district here in our city. And yet we are one of the fastest growing and one of the densest. And as many of you know, one filled with many families here in the Tenderloin neighborhood and a growing senior population. The activation of spaces like UN Plaza are so incredibly important for continuing to build our community here in this neighborhoods, and also to bring together a very diverse cross-section of what makes this city San Francisco. And so I do want to acknowledge the many entities that are engaged in making this neighborhood safer and healthier. We have many of our private sector entities. I see Twitter here, who has opened Neighborhood Nest to increase access to technology in our neighborhoods. The mayor had mentioned 826 Valencia, which we had opened just a month ago in one of our most problematic former liquor store sites here in our neighborhood. And as we talk about public works, we also have private nonprofits like the Downtown Street Teams that have continued to do more work. Thank you for making our neighborhood healthier. I love seeing you when I walk to City Hall in the morning from my home. But there's so much here that we have to be proud of, and I think that working with the Exploratorium and, of course, our planning department, it is a challenge to figure out how to open our spaces to the public so that all members of our community feel comfortable utilizing and owning our public space. But what I love about the Living Innovation Zone is that through these really creative pilots, they have figured out ways to have very diverse parts of our city come together and feel comfortable owning our public space and recreating and actually creating some whimsicality for our city. So I do want to thank the planning department for your leadership on activating our public space in a fun and open and accessible way, but also acknowledging that so many people work to make this neighborhood reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor, and thank you again for being here. So let me just say a few words about what this is, why we're here, and who was involved in making this happen. I think we all know that this is one of the most important public spaces in the city. It is a space that was created many years ago, and the goal here is to try to recognize the importance of this space, to recognize that it needs to be welcoming to everyone, and to frankly have some fun. So the idea of a living innovation zone is a temporary installation where people can interact with the installation, can engage in the public space, can be safe, can interact with people who maybe not be like them. And so it's a great testament to a great series of partnerships that have made this possible. And frankly, each time we do one of these, we learn a little more about how to activate public space, how to move forward, and it's an educational process at the same time. So this is not possible without a series of very important partnerships. First, I want to thank the Exploratorium, who actually constructed this incredible installation today. And I know Peter Genrich from the Exploratorium is here, and he will say a few words momentarily. But they have been a fantastic partner with the city in all of this work, and are really unbelievably creative and thoughtful in how they put these installations together. Secondly, I want to thank the Hunters Point family who's involved in helping us maintain this space. Thank you so much for all your work in maintaining this space. And of course, the Downtown Street team, thank you so much for being here, for helping us, for making these spaces active and safe. It really does take a family to pull these things off, so we really thank you all for being part of our family. And I also then just want to thank all my colleagues, the other department heads who are here today, and I will recognize each of them. But before I do, I want to take a moment to recognize the passing of one of our colleagues, Carla Johnson, the director of the Mayor's Office on Disability, who passed away after a short disease on Sunday. Carla was a tireless advocate for the disabled, her office was involved in decisions on this very installation, making sure that the disabled can use this installation, can interact with it just like the rest of us. So I want to take a moment to recognize Carla and her office for that amazing work. Her fingerprints are all over this, and we thank her so much for that. So let me just take a moment, if I could, to recognize a lot of people, many of whom are standing behind me. I will shortly introduce Steve Genrich from the Exploratorium, but before I do that, maybe I should put my glasses on. First of all, the UN Plaza stakeholders, with the General Service Administration, the Art Institute, and the Heart of the City's Farmers Market, thank you so much. Thank you. The Downtown Streets team I mentioned already, the Civic Center Commons Initiative Working Group. We have started a process in the planning department, creating a partnership with all of the entities in the Civic Center to create a new plan for Civic Center Plaza with our partners, particularly at Public Works and the Recreation and Parks Department. So this project will be an important learning tool for us in moving forward with that plan. I do want to then take a moment to recognize my colleagues, many of whom are standing behind me. Phil Ginsburg from the Recreation and Parks Department. The Department of Public Works had a major role in this effort. Mohammed Nuru couldn't be here today, but Simon Bertrand from Public Works is here today. Thank you so much, Simon. Naomi Kelly from the City Administrator's Office is here today. Derek Brown from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Todd Rufo from the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. Sandra Zuniga, who I think you heard mentioned earlier, who is the Mayor's new director of the Mayor's Fix-It team. And finally, Barbara Garcia from the Department of Public Health. Thank you all so much for being here. As you can see, this is an important effort for all of us and is a major way of collaborating for learning, for moving ahead, for activating our public environment. So finally, let me introduce Steve Genrich from the Exploratorium. As I said earlier, the Exploratorium has been a great partner, is unbelievably creative, and has been a wonderful collaborator on this process. Steve.
Hello, everybody. Let me try to adjust this real quick. There we go. Okay, hi, my name is Steve Genrich, and I'm the project director from the Exploratorium Studio for Public Spaces. I work for a team who designed and built this installation, worked with many people, many partners, many shops and facilities within San Francisco to make this happen. Our amazing partners, I'd like to thank John Ram and the planning department for bringing us into the Living Innovation Zone process, and they were instrumental in making the Sound Commons happen. We also built the first Liz, which is down Market Street. It's in Mid-Market. It's Market and Yerba Buena Lane. And you might have seen it as 2 concrete listening vessels. You stand in each vessel and you can talk to each other over 50 feet. When we first started working out in that space, we noticed that people were pretty much passing through, not really engaging in each other, engaging in the world around them. This is non-exploratorium behavior, and we hope to change that. So we constructed the listening vessels and observed other people and noticed new behaviors. We noticed people getting up from their seats to help explain the exhibits. We noticed people stopping and looking around when unfamiliar voices came into their head and stopped to try to figure out what's going on. We noticed a group of tourists lined up in one dish, waiting to talk to a lady sitting smoking a cigarette in the other dish. And we were very excited about these new types of behaviors. Our studio director, who couldn't be here today, his name is Sean Lonnie, he likes to call these wrecking balls for social norms. And we're also excited about bringing the Exploratorium into public spaces for free and becoming a civic partner. So, so about a year ago, we started talking with the planning department again to look at UN Plaza. And we realized that this space is tackling a much different set of issues compared to Mid-Market. Much like the United Nations, this plaza is a nexus for diverse communities. The Tenderloin has the highest concentration of children in San Francisco, with about 3,500 children living in half a square mile, but only a few public spaces for safe outdoor play. The neighborhood has some of the highest rents, coupled with the highest concentration of low-income housing. These are disparate groups, not often mingling with each other. So we'd like to change that, and change requires a community effort. And luckily, there's a dedicated group of hardworking organizations already working to change UN Plaza. And so I'd like to give a few of these groups just a shout out for helping us make this project a reality. First of all, San Francisco Planning for bringing us into the Living Innovation Zone program and providing grants and help in navigating the permitting process. Next, the San Francisco Recreations and Parks Department for granting us the permit to work on your land. The Office of Economic and Workforce Development for providing extra funds for lighting the plaza. The Department of Public Works for keeping the place looking great, and also specifically for helping us install the electrical exhibit. So we work with the electricians to work this. Let's see here. The Mayor's Office of Civic Innovation for getting the Liz program started. And the Mayor's Office on Disability for reviewing our drawings and making this exhibition accessible for everyone. The San Francisco Police Department for keeping this neighborhood safe. And the Downtown Streets team who pick up tons of trash and needles every morning. The Community Ambassadors Program for keeping this place friendly. And the Heart of the City Farmers Market and the Gift Gallery to bring people into this space every day. There's a group called Curry Without Worry and a church group that serves up free food. And Off the Grid for organizing the trucks in the plaza. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Hunters Point family for helping maintain this exhibition and keeping it safe and looking good going forward. So UN Plaza is a pretty successful space during these events, but how do we bring these diverse communities together, especially during the times between the events? We took inspiration from the Exploratorium sound exhibits to connect people with inquiry-based experiences. These massive aluminum chimes behind me are specifically tuned to resonate, so when played together, they sound really good. If you look over there, the three giant tubes, they're called echo tubes. They're an Exploratorium favorite, but there's 3 of them of different lengths, and they're open on both ends. So they encourage people to play with each other, like inside and outside of the echo tube area. The exhibit over there, it's called TikTok. They're like giant metronomes. They're pendulums that have a noise-making device at the top, so you can get them going and make custom rhythms that you hear as you're passing through that space. And then right behind you, there's a small pit of gravel called Out Quiet Yourself, and it tests your ability to walk across a gravel path, creating a bit of theater for the bystanders and the onlookers. So I'd like to point out that these exhibits might look finished, but this installation is actually a prototype, and therein lies the important impact. It's not just a 2-year installation. It's part of a long-term experiment into how to plan a better plan and envision a city. This is our vision for a more inclusive, participatory public space, a generative space, a place where new ideas, new actions, and dialogues can take place. We want people to make their city through acts of curiosity, kindness, and generosity. We hope that you enjoy the Sound Commons. Now let's go experiment together.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen, the Exploratorium. So a couple more people to thank, and then you should all play with the stuff all around us. My thanks to the Community Challenge Grants and Grants for the Arts, who actually granted a big grant to make this happen. So thank you so much to those organizations. And of course, last but not least, I need to thank my own staff. Paul Chesson and Cassie Hoprick, who are here today, over here, who are really heavily involved in this. Krista Kanalakis, who's not on my staff, but the Mayor's Office of Civic Innovation, thank you. And for all of you groupies out there on our public space work, you know this name, Neil Hershowy, who's standing behind me, whose passion for this work is sort of unmatched. Neil is constantly pushing me to do more on this, do more, budget more. And really the result we have is around us, so it's pretty extraordinary. So thank you all. Have a great day. Please enjoy the installations, the exhibits, and stay more involved.